Good day to you, my viewers, and welcome to another episode of your favorite program, The CEO. I still remain your host, Mary Omotayo. Today, I'm with my guest, Mr. Michael, the CEO of MTek Smart Innovations. Good day to you, sir.
Yeah, good day to you all.
Who is Mr. Michael?
Hmm, Mr. Michael. Well, Mr. Michael, Mr. Michael is just as every regular Nigerian from Ondo State, and I'm an Ijo man by tribe. Okay, and by discipline, I studied electrical engineering. So, but due to my passion for robotics and artificial intelligence, I've also run certain professional courses on industrial automations and the like. So, currently, I am more focused on innovations generally. So, which deals with the application of so many branches of engineering, bringing in mechanical, electrical, computer, and so on. So everything that has to do with innovation, developing of indigenous solutions, developing of using advanced cutting edge technology, to solve some of our immediate and local, needs. I guess that's just, I don't want to really go too deep into that. That's just a little bit about me.
All right, thank you, sir. What is your advice on solar energy in Nigeria?
Hmm. Well, it is not a news anymore. As it stands, every now and then the grid falling and rising, falling and rising. So it is only normal for everybody to look for an alternative means for power supply. And if you check around, in as much as we have so many means of generating electricity, I think solar happens to be one of the most reliable and feasible approach, due to the fact that it is green energy, no carbon emission. For instance, I talk about this climate change and the likes. You see, I think it's high time that we really drift into green energy, because if you look at it now, it's obvious that apart from the fact that we are having an epileptic power system in Nigeria, solar, I feel, should be the talk of the day. Everybody should start going green energy, even down to e-mobility, talking about electric powered vehicles, electric powered machines, just to cut down on the carbon emission. So going solar, in fact, is 100%.
Okay. How reliable is solar energy to PHCN?
I will not completely say PHCN should be completely cut off, because obviously when we talk about solar is not necessarily cheap, as we all know. And notwithstanding, even if you decide to go fully on solar, there are still some little challenges that you might face as a result of, it's a kind of the weather situation. For instance, now when you get to the rainy season period, you begin to have some issues. But notwithstanding, if you must go solar and you really want to completely cut off from the grid, I think it's advisable to have something like a kind of an hybrid system where you can mix. I think recently now in Oyo State, they recently launched an hybrid power plant. I think, yeah, an hybrid power plant that is about, is it maybe 10% or 30% solar, and then maybe 70% fossil fuel or the likes. Yeah. So, initiatives like that can really help to boost this whole thing, because we can't completely cut off from PHCN, even though we know it is not really as reliable as it's supposed to be. But for anyone who might want to go for solar, you can still have solar in your house and you're still, running on the PHCN.
PHCN.
Because, for instance, let's say you want to go 100% solar and the cost is, let's say, random figures now. Let's just say you need about 5 million naira to have a random solar system that can power your household effectively. With maybe just about 2 million naira instead of 5 million naira, you can do an averagely sized one that you can still, leverage on PHCNs.
PHCN.
So with PHCN, whenever there is power supply, it will be charging and you have a very good by a battery backup system that can store enough energy, and at the same time you're still having the solar, at your fingertips. So with that, you tend to have a kind of 24 hours, power system. So I can't completely rule out the need for PHCN. If our government decides to, work on it and improve on that, we can still get to that level where solar will become a thing of choice. You feel like, okay, you want to generate your own electricity, fine, you go ahead. You feel like, okay, you want to, rely on PHCN, you can do that. And we can still get to that stage where individuals can even contribute to the grid system. For instance, if I generate enough electricity from solar, there's a kind of system that is more like an on-grid system, whereby we can still dish out from our own generated energy back to the grid system. So that way, it can even help to, make the power system more reliable.
You said something about the rainy season. How do you generate energy during rainy season?
Okay, one thing, at least since I was born, I've never really woken up a day to realize or to find out that the sun did not come up at all throughout the day. No matter how terrible it is, at least it will still come out, even in rainy seasons. Now, you see, one thing about solar is the fact that a lot of people have this kind of mindset towards solar. They need to have a kind of a rethink. They need to be reoriented on how these things work. We don't have power management culture in this part of the world. You see a lot of people traveling out, they are very mindful of their energy usage. Someone is using the light, you hear someone telling you, please turn off that appliance, turn off that appliance. You're increasing our bill. So bring down, cut down on the bills. But here in Nigeria, we are so used to this, especially the postpaid pattern, where you just pay a certain amount every month, and then whatever you feel like doing with that power, you see people using ACs, using electric cookers, running all sorts of energy consuming activities on this same system, which are not really efficient enough, if you ask me. So with that kind of mentality, a lot of people, someone will tell you he wants to go into solar, he wants to do solar, but the point is they want to do solar and they have a very little budget, but they want to do solar that is designed for a very high cost. And it is not really because they can't really do an averagely sized solar that would really give them that comfort, but they are so used to power abuse. What I mean by power abuse, you see someone in the house, a particular bulb is not in use, they leave it on. A particular appliance is not in use, they leave it on, forgetting the fact that every little amount of energy counts when it comes to power supply. And if you would ask me, this is one major challenge we are really having. It's not as if the PHCN is not really doing anything, but the problem is, imagine if from the dam they are generating just for a random figure. Now let's just I want to try to reduce my terminologies, so let me try to be basic as possible. Let's say they are generating about 50% of energy. Now, out of that 50% of energy, that is the capacity of what they can generate, right? To meet the masses need. But you realize that the demand is higher than the supply. If they are generating about 50% of that energy and the demand is taking about 70%, you realize that 70% is not an actual use case scenario. In fact, that extra 30% might even be as a result of wastage. Every now and then you see the grid collapsing as a result of wastage. So if we develop this power management culture, you realize that even the grid will be sufficient enough to serve the masses.
So now you are now advising us that we should know how to manage our energy use. Okay, so the appliances important. We are not using, we should try to
turn off those appliances. And if you notice, technology has really advanced.
Okay.
Some of the energy wasting appliances have now been modified, have now been refined to become energy efficient. For instance, I will cite an example. We now have the so-called solar refrigerators. We now have the so-called inverter refrigerators, inverter fridge, inverter AC. Now, what is really the difference between this kind of appliance and the regular ones we have before? This kind of appliance have now been integrated with some smart technology to enable the system utilize and optimize the power usage. So imagine cutting or saving as far as 50% on your energy on that same appliance compared to the conventional type. So people need to start, moving from the old, outdated technology to the more
Modern
recent technology. Because why? These more recent technologies have been remodified, they've been refined, right, to help maintain and optimize proper power usage.
Oh, let's go on a short commercial break. We'll be
Okay.
right back.
Let's go.
Welcome back from the commercial break. We are still with Mr. Michael, MTek Smart Innovation. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much.
I want to ask, is it advisable to put solar panel on the roof?
Wow, this is indeed a controversial kind of a question, because if you ask a lot of people, because of the various rumors that have spread, a lot of people believe that you put solar on your roof, it's going to result to fire, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. But the truth is, there are even many other things that can really result to fire outbreak.
Okay.
Than even the solar you're talking about. In fact, the chances of solar panels on the roof resulting into fire is very slim compared to every other day-to-day appliance that we use. For instance, your AC, it deals with gas. Your cylinder at home, it deals with gas. All of these things, any slightest mistake can result into a massive explosion. But no one is talking about those ones. They are talking about the solar panels on the roof. You see, talking about mounting solar panels on the roof is not really, it's a thing of choice, right? But if really, if possible, it's much more better to create a space, specially built for the solar panels. More like a section that is built for the solar panels. But the reason why we make use of the roof sometimes is because of easy access, cost implication, and it's easier to reach the larger audience in that regard than the latter part of it. Because now when you talk about mounting panels on the roof, a lot of people that are out there that want to do this solar, majority of them are not literally landlords. Majority of them are tenants living in a rented apartment. So they don't even have a space of their own, not to talk about creating one special space to mount panels. So if everybody wants a portion of the land to mount panel, then we won't even have sufficient space. So that's why we always try to bring it down to the barest minimum. And in fact, that is even the reason why you see we have different sizes of panels. You can see a panel, one single panel that is of higher power rating, and multiple units of smaller panels that will still amount to that same panel rating. A good example is, let me just make use of figures now.
Okay.
We say we have a 600 watts solar panel. A single module,
okay.
600 watts, will be very big, right?
Yeah.
Then to make up for that same 600, we can get 200 watts panels, right, in their numbers, compared to that single panel.
One.
So because of this space problem, that is why we have these varieties. So if a particular building can only accommodate a certain amount of maybe space to enable mounting of these panels, you see people would rather go for a single module that can harness the most energy than going for smaller modules that can harness that same amount of energy. So putting solar on the roof is not really a problem.
Okay.
It only becomes a problem if it's done by an amateur,
okay,
by a quack. Because this solar thing, you see, a lot of installers out there, they have different levels of understanding. You know, they have different levels of understanding. So depending on how much of understanding they have, you know, will determine how much secured mounting that panels on the roof will be. So a simple explanation, mounting panels on the roof is not actually going to cause any kind of problem, especially if properly done.
Installed.
Yes, if properly installed.
How many products has a company produced?
You see, talking about products, we always talk about power as a major problem here in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
So, and at MTek Smart Innovations, we are really not more of solar, right? This solar came as a result of, you know, the saying that necessity is the mother of invention, right? Good.
Yes.
So now, this solar, MTek Smart Innovation is all about innovations, you know, cutting edge technology, bringing in smart technology, creating indigenous solutions, you know, the likes of robotics, creating automated machines, you know, building robotic solutions. For instance, now you can see we have a 3D printing machine, we have a laser cutting machine, we have so many other kind of robotic related kind of machines. So what we do at MTek Smart Innovations is to, you know, provide cutting edge solutions. So, but we can't really do much, especially in the space of AI, robotics, you know, manufacturing, without first securing power. So this solar thing came as a result of an attempt to solve the power problem. So now, in fact, it will interest you to note that as a result of this solar power solutions, we've produced countless number of it. In fact, it all just happened just like that, because from the onset, it wasn't planned to become a commercial product. It was meant to solve our indigenous need, which was to provide sustainable power for our activities. You know, sustainable power. So when we looked at the grid system, you know, I'm talking about the power holding companies and all of that, we realized that it's really not that convenient. It's really not that convenient and efficient enough. You know, sometimes some of these machines are so sensitive that the moment, you know, there is a slight power outage, the machine tends to, you have a failed, you know, production. So in order to, you know, eliminate that kind of occurrence, we decided to first of all secure power, because this is one major reason why a lot of investors are moving away from this part of the country. Yeah, you get the point now. Because there is no stable power supply, and without power you cannot manufacture anything. You get the point now. So as a result of that, when we started, most of the first version of this solar power solutions were taken by interested persons. You know, they just saw it and they were like, wow, okay, this solution you have, wow, I like it. Is it fun? Can I have it? Oh, okay, how much is it? In fact, as at then, we've not even really put any price tag to it, because it was more like just raw coming out from the whole, you know, the whole brainstorming session. You know, it was still fresh as at then. So that was how the first one, they took it. Okay, we built another one. Another person came, they saw it, they took it. You know, that's how it continued until one fateful day we now said, oh, wait, it seems like we're not the only one facing this problem. It's like it's a it's a general problem. Okay, let's commercialize this thing. So that was how we now decided to go into production. And to be honest, I've lost count. I've lost count of the various numbers of this product, because we also designed them to suit every individual. Remember what I said earlier, that power management culture has been the major problem.
Yes.
And for so long, as a result of this whole process, this solution thing, we've come to realize that most of our clients that ended up getting some of those portable and affordable versions of this solar, compared to the previous time when they were like, this thing doesn't serve, it doesn't last long, they are not comfortable with it. But after a series of
production,
introduction, orientations, they now realize that, wow, this thing is even more reliable than they thought. Because why? Initially, they were using appliances that were just wasting energy. Initially, they were not conscious of the power management culture, but when they started practicing these things, they now realized that they didn't even need to go for a 2 million naira solar, a 5 million naira solar. Anything within their budget can actually serve them according to how they use those things. And as a result of that, to now, in fact, make it even more interesting, at MTek Smart Innovations, we don't even use the conventional system. We came up with our own unique concept by integrating this cutting-edge technology into it. It will interest you to know that most of our products are all AI integrated. So that is to say, these products are so smart and intelligent enough to be able to deliver optimal, performance.
Okay, what can you tell us about the construction of the power bank?
Okay. For the construction of the power banks, okay, as you can see here now, we have a construction ongoing. There are some products, maybe later on I would show you some of our products. You see, for the production of these things, one thing that we have at the back of our mind at MTek Smart Innovations is indigenous production, indigenous manufacturing. In as much as we cannot 100% produce every single thing we use, of course, we're going to get raw materials, for production and all of that. But we try as much as possible to at least 80%, 90% locally sourced. In fact, it will interest you to note that almost 90% of our materials are locally sourced. In fact, our models are carefully designed, from these computer systems, and then we use cutting-edge technologies such as 3D printing, CNC machining, laser cutting technology, and any other kind of manufacturing standards that you can think of. And that's why when you see some of our products, you think they are factory-made products. And it's like that because we are using advanced cutting-edge technology to really meet those requirements. And to make it affordable and accessible, we decide to localize almost everything we use. So the only things we probably import are some of those basic things that even big companies in the Western world will still rely on other companies to provide them their raw materials. So you get the point now. So what we have really focused on is indigenous manufacturing. So we are trying to localize that concept here in Nigeria. So if you see some of our products, you would think maybe we imported some of the parts and then assembled here. But it's interesting to know that we actually designed, we fabricated, in fact, everything locally made. And one interesting thing again is the fact that at MTek Smart Innovations, we are self-sufficient when it comes to power. So every of our production machines, even down to our welding machines, our cutting machines, our automated machines and everything, they all run on solar. That's to tell you that it is possible to actually run a factory even on renewable energy.
how can people contact you for training?
Okay, yeah. In as much as, like I said before, you see this solar thing being commercialized now is not really the core intent for MTek Smart Innovations, but it only came as a result of necessity.
Yeah.
And we decided to put it out there because we realized that there is high demand for it. And what we are focused on is providing solutions. So anything that can be solved using technology is what we do. So all you need to do is come to us, you tell us what you need, then we brainstorm, we analyze, and then we create a solution using technology for that. So you can easily reach out to us via our social media platforms, reach out to us via our mobile contacts, reach out to us in every way, even physically here, you can easily reach out to us. And then secondly, we are not just all about products and services. Rather, we also conduct trainings, because the idea is we are trying to encourage indigenous manufacturing. You see, today we are always complaining about the problem of dollar to naira, margin, always dollar and naira chasing dollar like Tom and Jerry, So the problem is we are more of consumers than producers. So the more we start producing, we begin to see that, yes, our economic value will begin to increase. Because take, for instance, now, see what happened during the COVID-19 era. In fact, as at that period, when even as little as this nose mask was a problem, even to the world power such as the United States, here in Nigeria, using this cutting edge technology, we were able to design reusable nose mask as at when this COVID-19 thing was a thing. And we're able to come up with certain preventive measures, with all of the preventive measures like keeping distance, no contact, and all of that. In all these public gatherings, we're able to come up with an advanced, system, the likes of, I could remember there was an institution we actually partnered with. We developed some sort of solutions. I could remember then, a lot of things were so much on high demand, the likes of respirators, ventilators, even this automated COVID booth, disinfecting booth, and all of that. So we're able to come up with some of these solutions locally. Because as at that period, it was very difficult for importation. It was very difficult for... So you can imagine how important indigenous, manufacturing will really go. It really is, rather, as a result of this whole thing. Because it enables, or it gives us this level of confidence, this level of self-sufficiency. So we don't necessarily need to rely on our foreign neighbors to be able to sustain ourselves. We have a lot of mineral resources here in Nigeria, but we cannot refine them. So what stops us from building those refineries here in Nigeria and be self-sufficient? You can imagine, take for instance, how can we be exporting raw crude oil and then importing the refined petrol? It really makes no sense. And it's not something our government cannot do. But of course, we all know the Nigerian factor, corruption here and there, and all of that. But notwithstanding, even with all of that, we still have hope in Nigeria.
We've come to the end of today's program. Don't forget to like, share, and drop your comments on MC Ambassador TV. See you next week. We love you.